I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm reviewing Weretigers from Sordane Publishing. Weretigers is a 1-to-4 player tower defense game in which players are going to be defending their village from I kind of want to say werewolves, but I think it's from Weretigers, hence the name. Where players are defending the village from Weretigers and hopefully trying to survive. That's the basic idea. It's a cooperative game, 1-to-4 players, like I said already. This is a prototype, rules and components subject to change, and I'll have a link to the crowdfunding campaign down below. With that said, as far as how the game plays, basically you're going to be rolling dice, assigning them to actions, and trying to improve your tableau, doing so better than the Weretigers attack your village. On your turn, players are going to go ahead and roll dice. So you're going to roll these dice, and you'll be able to use these dice to assign them to your various characters. Every character starts with a scout, recruiter, trapper, and builder, and you can recruit more characters from the market over here that will give you stronger, more powerful abilities, or generally stronger, although it all depends on the kit that you're building. So you're going to take your dice, assign them to actions, and then you're going to draw a card from this deck which will have the Weretigers slowly advancing towards the village. So let me just show you how a few turns play out, and then we'll walk into my general thoughts and opinions. So we have a 6 and a 3 right now. We're starting off with 2 dice. The first thing you can do is you can assign them to your XP track. Whenever you assign dice to your XP track, once this track is completely filled, you will unlock another die, which allows you to roll 3 dice and then eventually 4 dice per turn. That's helpful, but as you can see, it's going to take a little bit of time to get there, so you really want to make sure that you're staying on top of all the bad things happening here. To that end, you have a few tools at your disposal. You have Scout. You can assign a 1, 2, or 3 to scout in lane 1, 2, or 3. Scouting a tile is going to allow you to flip it over, and you can only attack them once they are flipped over, so you kind of need to scout them in order to be able to deal with them. The good news is we have some time. They're not quite yet at the walls of our village. We can use the recruiter action, and assuming you assign dice that add up to 8 or more, so for example this 6 and this 3 add up to 9, so I can go ahead now and I can recruit one of these cards from the market and add them to my tableau. This hunter, for example, will allow me to add 3 to a die and then use it to damage a reveal token. So basically powers up a die, takes a die I already have and makes it stronger for the purpose of attacking, which could be very helpful. Then again, the little girl gives me a lot of flexibility because it lets me re-roll dice to get those numbers I need, which also helps me power up my XP track. Cards are going to be coming through here, which is good, but also those are your life points, one of the 2 ways you can lose the game, so you want to be careful about recruiting too much. You do want to recruit, but the Weretigers are going to be slowly depleting those pools as well. The Trapper, if I spend a 6 on the Trapper, I can place a trap onto the board. Traps are helpful because when creatures pass over them, whether they are revealed or not, they have a chance of dying. It's the only way you can really try to take out a non-revealed tile, although you have to roll a 5 or 6 when it passes over, which means you are kind of gambling and just hoping for the best, but sometimes it could save you both a reveal and a kill action. So getting a lot of traps onto the board can be very helpful, but they are using your 6s. And then builders, if you have doubles, you can assign them to rebuild walls. Walls are helpful for keeping out various enemies, although they don't work on unrevealed enemies. So again, you gotta reveal those enemies or just hope you kill them all through traps. That's what you're doing on your turn, assigning your dice to the characters you have or to your XP track. Or if you do have a reveal token, this is win, doesn't help us over here. If you did have a reveal token next to your gate where you see these little attacking icons, then you could spend your dice to try to attack them. I could commit this 6 to this warrior over here and then hope my other player will team up and take them out, and that will eventually result in them dying. And also, when you kill enemies, you can assign those dice to your XP track, which allows you to have a little more flexibility of putting any number into your XP track, although limit 1 per player. Meaning even if I contributed 2 or 3 dice, you get 1 die per player that can be used towards the XP track, so it is helpful to team up and take out enemies. It's another way to power up while effectively doubling up the use of that die. Those are the main things you're doing in the game as far as on your turn. You assign dice to get XP, you assign dice to attack enemies, and you assign dice to the various characters, of which there's an entire smorgasbord of all of these different characters, each giving you a unique ability that is going to add to your gameplay options aside from the 4 starting characters you have. I may have said this already, but once you have 5 characters, you have to start picking and choosing which ones to discard. So while you start with these 4 basic ones, your first one's like, amazing, look at this cool ability I have, but every subsequent character, while it does give you a cool ability, comes at the cost of something you can do before. Scouting is super important, so there are some scout abilities that might help you. Putting a trap on the board, it's not essential, but it is very helpful to have a bunch of traps littered on the board, so you start having to have hard choices as you go through the game. When your turn is done, you're going to go ahead and draw a card over here. These have different things. This is rumors. is discard all villager cards in the market, which may not seem that bad because it's going to refill, but these also are your life points. More commonly though, you're going to have cards like this, which says, oh, we add a token face down to the blue region. If we were to draw another one on a future turn, then it bumps other tokens forward. So it's going to have an effect of basically moving tokens closer to your village. But then you also have cards like this, which says to move everything in the blue lane. Now, as things pass over traps, you'll roll for them. And the tricky part is once they are trying to cross into your village, a few things can happen depending on the token. If it's a face down token, it will straight up cross into your village and will immediately take one of these spots over here, permanently replacing it, which is going to give you less card options. But also once you have 3 of them there, you are out, you are losing. That is one of the ways to lose, having 3 unrevealed tokens creep into your village. If it's a revealed token, then instead when it tries to cross, the first time it will simply destroy the wall, but on subsequent times it's going to actually enter and has an attack value, and it'll take out that many cards from your village display as well as from the top of the deck. And unlike unrevealed tokens, these stay here until defeated, so they're going to be continuously hitting your deck every single turn. You really need to stay on top of these baddies to make sure they are not taking out all your cards, because the second way you lose is if your entire deck gets depleted through buying cards, through the unrevealed tokens taking up spots, as well as through just going through clearing out the cards through the enemies attacking. The last thing to note before we talk about how you win is going to be these boss tokens. These bosses, which will eventually show up through various cards in the deck, and I should note as well, there are 2 phases to these cards. So even though you are powering up, eventually you're going to hit the second watch, and that means they're going to be powering up too. The way you win is you get to this ending card over here. At that point, you win the game if you've basically survived the night. Along the way, those bosses over here, those are going to take a lot more damage to slowly take out, but that is basically how you play through a game of Weretigers. Which means it's time for my review of what I like, don't like, can see others not liking, starting off with what I like, which in general, the game has a degree of tableau building, of acceleration. To start off, you have your track over here, which as you commit dice to it, which again, it's a precious resource in the beginning, because, I mean, even if you have perfect rolls, it's going to take 3 full turns of you doing nothing else to get that third die. Once you get it, you have a lot of options open, but in the meantime, you're trying to stay ahead of the enemies. Neglecting those 1s, 2s, and 3s when you have an opportunity to reveal something will cost you heavily, because if you don't have a 3 when it's over here, you might just be stuck with them sneaking into your village, taking up a permanent spot. You have less flexibility. You have to be on top of keeping the enemies at bay, even as you power up. One of the other things I like, though, is defeating enemies does give you those dice back to the XP, which makes sense. It's an XP track, so I can train, but I can also fight and gain XP and gain stronger that way. So in general, you have the tableau building, you have the multi-use dice of choosing where to assign them, and the actual pressure of where to assign them, because again, you want to commit to everything. You want characters, you want more dice rolling, and you want to defeat enemies and stay ahead of the game. And you can't have everything, so you are making hard choices. And on top of all that, you have this giant deck of cards with all these cool abilities. And I will tell you from playing this game that very often there are ways that these cards are going to go away. It is never fun when that happens, because often I have that card that I'm like, okay, I'm going to work my way towards that. I'm going to get that card. It's going to help comp my engine. And then that card goes away, and I'm like, well, that's annoying. I really wanted that card. It's an instance. It's a 6 that I can kill any enemy on the board whenever I want. There's so many cool cards. You want to gather them to build up your engine, and you are torn in different directions as you play. Combine all that with the fact that the game is easy to teach, easy to learn, plays pretty quickly, setups minimal, teardowns minimal. It's a very accessible tower defense game that has tableau building, has tough decisions, and is not easy either. Like, this game has a cartoonish look to it. It is not easy. You are on your toes throughout the entire experience. As far as things I don't like in the game, really 2 things. First of all, the art style isn't for me. It's not bad. This is more of a personal preference thing. I'm not pulled in by the art style over here. There's a nice little charm to it as far as what it's doing, but overall, I just don't think I'm personally pulled in by the art style. And secondly, and more importantly, is I do think it's a little repetitive as you go through multiple games. The only thing that really shifts up the experience is the order that these cards come out, which doesn't really feel like a shifted experience, but rather I'd say the bigger thing that shifts up the experience is the cards you see in this market. You will not be able to utilize all these cards. Again, you have to replace your starting cards as you go through it, which means you are going to have a very limited pool that you can play with each game. That's really, to me, the only compelling aspect of continuing to replay it, because the pattern of what you do as you play through is a very similar tableau building structure as you go through it. Yes, you're making different decisions as far as what to do each turn, but the arc of the game is very similar. Not a lot changes up that experience, except for the various cards that will feed into your combos, which again is fun to explore, but I think the game does have limited replayability, at least for someone like myself that loves variety to the experience. That's the biggest complaint I have against the game. As far as I can see others not liking, it definitely is hard. Like, do not let this art fool you. This is a hard and challenging game, which I appreciate because I get to feel powerful while also feeling challenged. But if you want an easier tower defense game, this is not the one that I would recommend. Now, granted, I'm sure there's many ways you could house rule it, or again, it's a prototype. I don't know if they'll have difficulty modifications and things like that. But it's a challenging experience that you certainly can win. Like, I've won the game, but you certainly have to work hard to do so. As far as final thoughts on Weretigers, overall this is an enjoyable, easy to play, easy to teach, accessible tower defense game that does give you various powers and abilities and combos in different ways as far as how you can build out your structure, which does provide a little bit of replayability to the experience. I've had fun playing through it. I do think it has a limitation to what it's trying to do. Overall, for me, I'm coming in at a 3.5 out of 5. As far as other game recommendations, definitely check out Castle Panic if you want something similar, but also on the easier side. And if you want something that takes it to the next level, check out Kingdom Rush from Lucky Duck Games for a tower defense game that has a whole lot more going on to the experience. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this video helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.